On today's Locked on NBA Game Night, drama in the NBA offseason. Did Patrick Beverley have a point? TV deals that could be the future for the rest of the league. And we're excited about the Starting Five show coming out yet again for season 2.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Tipping off now.
Let's get it going on Locked On NBA Game Night, your daily show all about what's happening in the association, including throughout the offseason. You can follow Locked On NBA and get 10 shows a week between Locked On NBA Daily and Locked On NBA Game Night. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your first bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Go download the app today. I'm Rylan Stiles, host of Locked On Thunder. Joining me today is John Karalis, host of Locked On Celtics. And John, it's been a off season for sure. You know this from your experience a year ago. Whenever you win a title, shorter off season heading into next season. But I mean, at the end of this coming week, we're going to see teams open up with media days, the ones that get to play earlier in the preseason overseas, and so it feels like we're on the precipice of being back, and it felt good to see some NBA drama back on our timelines, back in our lives with Patrick Beverley and Trae Young. And then these two guys went at it both on Twitter, on podcast, and they just couldn't get enough of ripping one another, which I think started over Patrick Beverley discussing the All-Star game and why All-Stars don't try hard, and Trae Young just dismissed him and then said, you've never been an All-Star, so you can't really talk about the All-Star game. What was your general consensus around a spat that started out with the All-Star game and then got really personal really fast?
Well, first of all, I think if people were honest about the original question, which is why do players try hard in summer workouts with each other versus the All-Star game, the answer is very simple. The All-Star game is in the middle of a very long NBA season, and the summer workouts are private summer workouts where, okay, they record them so everybody can post their Instagram stuff, but that's competitive because all there is pride on the line. You're working out, you're ramping up. If he had just said that, then that would have been it. But Patrick Beverley cannot help himself. Trae Young can't help himself. Pat Bev had to come up with some ridiculous reason, some ridiculous excuse to probably make himself look better. And then Trae Young just interjected himself, and then things get bad. I'll put it this way: people who know me know I have a soft spot in my heart for hating Trae Young, but I also have that spot for hating Patrick Beverley. So I feel like I'm the right person to talk about how both these guys are idiots and wrong.
Yeah, I mean, you are an unbiased party here because you hate them both equally and justly. So right. I think that when we dive into this conversation, the All-Star stuff, it's been a topic for multiple years now as the NBA continues to shuffle through their format and try to find the right one. I don't think that there's a format that can change. I do think it is on the players to make any format successful, but it is also to a point where you're playing a really long season, and that's a really long weekend by the time you get to the All-Star game. I think that if you ever want the All-Star game to succeed again like it used to, players do have to try, and they know how to try without getting hurt. It's just, do they want to? I think that Patrick Beverley is right in a way on that topic. And then things took the turn for the NBA news side of things, where as soon as Trae Young dismisses Patrick Beverley and is just saying, well, you can't have an opinion, you weren't an all-star type of things. And you can see why that got under Patrick Beverley's skin. We all know it's not too difficult to get Patrick Beverley agitated. And so dismissing him like that obviously did it. But then Patrick Beverley goes on these rants about how nobody likes Trae Young and that we wants to play with Trae Young, that he doesn't respect Trae Young as a winner and he can't win anything. And this is now a pattern, John, that's following Trae Young around where you look at, the reports from The Athletic about whenever he's getting his coaches fired, and John Collins and him didn't quite have a great history together, if you believe the behind-the-scenes reporting. And now a player is saying that like no one likes to play with this guy. Do you buy into this narrative surrounding Trae Young?
I think there's I think maybe Pat Bev is exaggerating it a little bit, but there's something there for sure, because we've seen multiple coaches. What's Trae on? Is his third or fourth coach at this point? The way that the Hawks have been trying to build around him, they've adjusted a few different times. And I think the most telling thing is the fact that Trae was eligible for an extension this summer, and the Hawks never even initiated talks. They didn't even say, we're going to lowball you. They just didn't even start the conversation. And that, to me, gives a lot of this credence. I think Trae Young is at an inflection point of his career where the very early success has been kind of carrying him through. I think the early success has colored some opinions of him where, you make a first impression on somebody and it's hard to change that impression, good or bad. He came out as like people still think he's a sharpshooter, and his 3-point percentage is not great. People think that he's like, a certain kind of player, and he's not. And I think the Hawks are trying to figure out if he's a number one guy. So yeah, I think Patrick Beverley has a point. Trae Young also has a point that Patrick Beverley hasn't won a thing, and he's just a big talker and kind of gloms on to, he's been a part of some winning teams, but has been like an ancillary part, like an okay part, but nothing special. So, but the Trae Young part of it is, I think, legit. The Hawks, if the Hawks are disappointing this year, they've kind of reloaded. They got Porzingis. I don't know how healthy he's going to be, having seen him for 2 years in Boston. If it doesn't work out this season, then we're going to start seeing Trae Young trade rumors and all of that stuff. Like, I think the Hawks are at a point where they need to figure out, is he the number one guy? And if he can't be the number one guy, will he accept not being the number one guy? And if he doesn't accept that, then he has to be moved. And his trade value is going to be very interesting to see.
Yeah, I think that it's fair to say that with the moves that they've made this offseason, as one of the clear winners of the offseason of getting Porzingis, getting Gilgeous-Alexander Walker, and then you still had that addition where you had Dyson Daniels last year, looked like the best backcourt mate for Trae Young, and Jalen Johnson will be back healthy after having what looked like an all-star type of campaign before he got hurt a season ago. So there's just all of this happening in Atlanta on top of a very bad Eastern Conference that it feels like it's now or never for Trae Young to be the leader of the show, to be the number one option, and let's see how he does this season. And then that kind of defines his future and his future role, both with Atlanta and both in the NBA long term. It is funny, though, that like the guy who is responsible for giving us many TikTok edits of jumping on tables and crying over winning a play-in game is now the kind of judge, jury, and executioner. Yeah. I don't know if you've won anything in this league. I did find that to be a bit funny. And I found it funny to be how fast it escalated from, hey, this is just kind of a relatively meaningless all-star conversation that people have had a dozen times to, okay, yeah, we're just going to like air out, I don't respect you. Well, I don't respect you. You're no good. You're a bum. It's just like, whoa, that went pretty fast.
It did. That's the Anchorman meme. That escalated quickly. Two very sensitive young men going at each other, really trying to one-up each other.
And that they did. Coming up, let's talk about the Netflix Starting 5 series. It's on season 2, coming out soon. Has it been a success so far? Has we seen anything like this in the NBA before? And what do we want to see in season 2? All coming up. But first, I want to say right now, but our good friends over at OpenPhone, folks, go check out OpenPhone today, because OpenPhone is great. And I think that you can really use it, especially if you're running a business. You know that every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you had an urgent need. Maybe you had a plumbing need or an air conditioning service need. If the first person you called didn't answer, did you wait around? Probably not. You moved on, and that's why you need OpenPhone. OpenPhone is the #1 business phone system built to streamline and scale your customer communications, all from an app on your phone. I love the fact that OpenPhone lets you manage business calls and texts from a singular app. The shared inbox feature is a complete game changer. Your team can jump into any conversation instantly without missing a beat, and their AI agent handles after-hour calls, answers commonly asked questions, and captures leads for you, so you never miss a customer. OpenPhone is offering my listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. Openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. If you have an existing number with another service, don't worry. OpenPhone will port them over at no additional charge. OpenPhone, no missed calls, no missed customers. We're back on the Locked On NBA Game Night podcast. I'm Rylan Stiles, host of Locked On Thunder. That's John Karalis, host of Locked On Celtics. And John, we saw last year the debut of Starting Five from Netflix. And Netflix has been getting into these behind-the-scenes docu-series. They've done some with the NFL, with quarterback and receiver, taking quarterbacks and receivers and going behind the scenes there. They've done Formula One. They've done golf. They've done college football now. So they've kind of hit a lot of the markets, and then they started last year with the NBA. And I think it was a success for their first run of it. It's a 10-episode series. Each episode lasts about 45 minutes. And then they immediately picked their crop of characters for season 2 before last season. And they followed them all throughout the year. And that cast, which is going to be dropping on October 16th, was Jaylen Brown, Kevin Durant, SGA, Therese Halliburton, and James Harden. To pick that group a year in advance is excellent work by Netflix.
Yeah,
I mean, it is just excellent work. You got the two guys that match up in the finals. You had Kevin Durant, who, like, whatever happened there in Phoenix. James Harden had a great season, really, to help the Clippers stay afloat and get to a point where at the end of that season last year, we were talking about the Clippers as like possibly a surprise team as Kawhi got healthy. And then Jaylen Brown is right there with the Celtics trying to repeat, and also what happened at the end of that Celtics season. So what are you most excited to sit down and watch on October 16th and see in season 2 of Starting Five?
So I'm going to exclude the Jaylen Brown stuff, which is obviously like my purview. So, but I'm very interested to see the dynamics of the OKC Thunder and the Indiana Pacers, right? These two teams that the Thunder won a championship, I think, probably ahead of schedule, right? I would say they're at least a year, maybe 2 ahead of what I thought they were going to be as far as champions. So I wanted to see like how SGA kind of interacts with people behind the scenes and maybe give me some insight into, you know, he was the MVP and he got his guys. You can always tell in like post-game interviews that he was definitely in control of that team. They kind of followed his lead, but I kind of want to see the inner dynamics. And then the same thing with the Pacers, who were just up and down, middle of the pack, kind of dismissed for so long. And honestly, that decision-making for Tyrese Halliburton, I want to see the calf strain, I want to know how much he knew of the risks of the Achilles tear. I kind of want to see the decision-making process there. So between those two, I think there's a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, and I think that on that topic, it's also interesting from a team building standpoint of, like, whenever they got to the NBA Finals, both teams were talking about how them being so tight-knit and like the power of friendship is what Miles Turner had called it, is what spurred them on. And I think that you can see that play out because you're following Halliburton from the start of the year to the end of the year, and obviously a very traumatic ending for Halliburton himself individually. But like there was a point in that Indiana season where a lot of other NBA teams would just say, all right, not our year. Maybe we'll make the play in. Maybe we'll just kind of pack it in or whatever. But they stuck together. They stuck it out. And then they went on this heroic, historic run. How? Like, how did they stay together whenever they were battling with as a 500 team or a below 500 team, and then turn it on at the right time at the end of that last season? So I think that that's going to be a very interesting storyline. And I don't think we've really ever had a almost in real time, it's coming out a couple months later, but almost in real time, documentary of both sides of the NBA Finals, the most two important parts of an NBA Finals that went 7 games, and like it was a great Finals.
Yeah, I mean, talk about kind of like good fortune that they went with these two guys. No one could have thought that at least Halliburton was going to be part of that. They probably thought Jaylen Brown was going to be part of that trip back to the finals. And obviously with the Celtics, you know, the inner dynamics, the inner workings of a team trying to get back. I mean, I think for you that like watching the Jaylen Brown side of this is going to be like very telling. Like, why is it that a champion hasn't gotten out of the second round. I remember specifically talking to Joe Mazzulla at one point last season. He was like, yeah, he said it, like, champions haven't gotten out of the second round. So our goal is to get out of the second round. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, why would you think like, and then here they were, and they were hurt and all that stuff. We don't need to rehash all of that, but like, there's something there indicative of the troubles, the trials and tribulations of getting back. Everybody sees the OKC Thunder as this juggernaut built to withstand the second apron. Now their goal is to get out of the second round.
Yeah.
So I think there's going to be a lot of informative stuff in the Jaylen Brown stuff too. So you have like this amazing run of the two champions with this, coincidental side story of, okay, OKC, here's what Boston was facing, and here's what you're going to face. I think all of this is to say that, sure, Kevin Durant drama is going to be fun. You kind of want to see what goes on behind the scenes in Phoenix. And I kind of don't give a damn about what James Harden is doing in this one. Like, I kind of don't care unless he's with Kawhi. Unless he's with Kawhi getting an aspiration payment, then I don't care about what James Harden is doing in this series. Like, I'm going to fast forward through the Harden stuff, I think. But everyone else has a lot. I think SGA, Tyrese, and Jaylen Brown have, like, from a basketball junkie standpoint, I think they have the most compelling storylines.
Yeah, and Jaylen Brown on the Celtics documentary on HBO Max with Bill Simmons, like, he's been awesome whenever they've included him in that series with his interviews. So I do think that they'll, at some point in the 10-part series, they'll get to the question about parity, because we haven't really had a parity era like this in the NBA, where like you can't even get the champions out of the second round, much less get back to the title and win it, as we used to see like these different eras dominated by one or two teams in them. Now it's just like a free-for-all. Why is that? What's the difference? Because the Celtics last year, at this time last year, were sitting in the same position as OKC. Who's going to beat them? Like, who's going to stop them? It's going to be the Celtics that wins another one. And obviously they didn't. So no one's infallible to all of this. But I am curious about Kevin Durant and the drama, only from a standpoint of like, from a business standpoint with Netflix, of how much did you get him to open up? Because we've seen in their past series with the NFL, it's not a requirement that these guys give you everything that they're feeling or thinking. Guys like Kirk Cousins do it very well whenever he had to deal with being benched and stuff on the show. That was really interesting to see that side of him. And we'll see if Kevin Durant did the same thing for Netflix with all of the drama that happened in Phoenix and all of the trade deadline stuff, where it looked like he might have been out at the trade deadline and was back in and then was back out in the offseason. I'm just curious how they tell that story, especially in the midst of more pressing matters like Jalen Brunson, Tyrese Halliburton, SGA, the most pressing characters in all of this. Like you mentioned, you don't really care about James Harden. And then with Kevin Durant, it's just one thing. It's like, okay, how'd you get traded? How'd this happen? That's the one thing you care about. So how do they weave it all together and make you not want to hit the skip button? I'm very curious about with this whole season 2.
I say all of this knowing that, having said this, and it will be on the record, James Harden is probably going to have the most interesting moment in this series. I'm going to miss it. I'm going to have to go back and watch it. I'm going to be like, yeah, I should have watched this the first time around. It's just that I know that's how it's going to go. But yeah, like, look, you got everything. You got drama. You got, the behind the scenes stuff. I think this is going to be a good one. And, as they keep doing these, you learn from like, okay, we did this in season 1. Let's see what we can do better in season 2. So I'm looking forward to this. I want to see who they pick for the next 5. Like that I couldn't even begin to guess who the next 5 guys are. You mentioned, like, it's got to be somebody from the Knicks, right? Like Karl Anthony Towns. You got to get somebody from like, and you got to get like the one guy that people are like sort of care about, but like, I guess I'm going to watch this guy. Because we had Domantas Sabonis on last year, and you're like, really? Like Sabonis? Like, who are you going to get? Who are you going to get this year that's going to be like, yeah, I guess. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think you have to get someone from New York. I think you would like to probably get somebody from OKC again, Chet or J-Dub, and they both have different personalities and personalities that you want to bank on to like possibly take another step in the star rating system this season. Just follow along with, just in case the parity era is broken now with OKC, if they can do it. And then, like, could you find a way to get someone from the Clippers? I know you can't do James Harden again, and Kawhi will not do it. So then it's like Chris Paul's angle it as like Chris Paul's farewell tour, but also on the periphery, it's like, hey, by the way, if they get any kind of punishment from this aspiration stuff in season, we also have that covered too.
That
and
would
it's
be
like
hilarious.
you kind of need that, and doing, and like the Chris Paul angle could work out because you imagine it'll be his last season. Is just everything he does that this whole season is documented. So I think that those like trio of topics would be what I would look for.
You could sign Kawhi to do it. He just would never appear in any episode.
He would never appear on camera.
It would just cut to like a chair in Los Angeles with like a Kawhi jersey and
music.
Like, yeah.
And it's slowly zooming into the chair, and you're thinking, okay, they're going to do this whole like trope where he's going to walk in and sit down.
Nope.
And
then they just cut to Karl Anthony Towns. Next.
Next thing, it's Karl Anthony Towns and
just
J-Dub.
Like Uncle Dennis walking past in the background, just sipping on a cup of coffee and then never acknowledging the camera.
Yeah, and he's going to the bank and
asking for money or coming up to the producer like, "Do we get paid yet?"
Speaking of cashing checks, the Suns TV deal both rewarded Phoenix and its audience. But first, I want to say right now, my good friends over at FanDuel, go check out FanDuel today because the NFL season is here and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with these can't-miss offers. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. And I think that you're going to love it because if you're only into the NBA, they already have lines out there. Opening night, the Thunder and Rockets. Thunder, 6.5-point favorites at home. But if you're into the NFL, you can go download the app today, visit FanDuel.com, and get started at FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you get $300 in bonus bets. And we have a lot of big spreads in the NFL this week, starting out on Sunday afternoon, heading into Sunday night. So you can bet on any of these games, including Washington. Still 3-point favorites without their starting quarterback against the Raiders. Go check it out today at FanDuel.com. We're back on the Locked On NBA Game Night podcast. I'm Rylan Stiles. That's John Karalis, host of Locked On Thunder and Locked On Celtics. And we're going to dive into now the Phoenix Suns because they did announce a continuation and a statewide continuation of their TV rights, where they kind of severed their ties with their regional sports network. And now they give all their games on over-the-air television, and it's so much more accessible. It's so much more convenient and cheaper for his audience, for his fan base, for his state to watch his games now. And he got about $30 million over the course of these next 2 years for making this arrangement. And honestly, I think that this is a win all the way around. I think that from the Suns standpoint, with where you're seeing, RSN's trend, $30 million over 2 years sounds pretty good for your television rights in your local market. And then you also gain the popularity, the notoriety, the appreciation, the loyalty, the whatever of your fan base actually getting to watch your games and not have to go seek out these apps and these subscriptions and these whatevers.
I would love this to be the trend line. I'd love for RSNs to kind of start going away and these rights going to over the air, or just the RSNs just going over the air free. I think there's something there. I think of like my mom, who is 78, but a sports fan. And, I call her up from the car as I'm driving to the games. And the number one question she always asks me, is the game going to be on TV? And I keep telling her no, unless it's on ABC, because she doesn't have cable. She's 78. She's a 78 Greek immigrant. She's not going to be, she doesn't know streaming. She doesn't know any of that stuff. But we have an antenna for her TV. She gets the free channels. And she's happy with that. If she gets basketball games, she would be like in heaven because she just wants to watch these games. There are so many people who are missing out on day-to-day basketball games. So what happens when my 78-year-old mom watches a game? She talks about it with me and her children and her grandchildren, and that becomes a conversation point. And those things grow into interest because, hey, let's watch the basketball game because when we go talk to Yaya, we're going to need to talk about, so she's going to want to talk to us about it. And then the kids start to get into it. There's a trickle-down effect when you make this available to everybody. And I think in the face of this fracturing, streaming, now we're on Peacock and Amazon Prime and all this other stuff, having a place where fans can get more free content, it's something that the commissioner did tout in his Board of Governors address. Having more free content is nothing but good for the league.
Where do you think that the league is getting it right and wrong with their television deals right now from a local and from a national level? I think that Silver, of course, his comments are under fire, calling this a highlight league, and that was a silly decision to have had taken out of context from him, because like you just got this massive payday and you don't want to dilute the product that you're selling to these national TV providers, or else they're going to come back to you in the next negotiations and kind of say, well, you're only a highlight league, so there's not much here for us. But I think that the national TV package is getting a lot of scrutiny, and it is a lot of different places. But if we really boil this whole thing down, it's ESPN and ABC, as it always has been, and like we kind of already are used to that. And now there's more ways than ever to get ESPN. You can get them without having a cable package. You can get them without, having a kind of overly expensive like YouTube TV or Hulu or DirecTV or whatever. You can just pay ESPN directly and get them. ABC, of course, is over the air and free. NBC and Peacock, yeah, you need a Peacock subscription, but you look at these teams, and if you're only caring about one team, most teams play like 2 or 3 games on Peacock, so you can just kind of get it for that month or whatever. But yeah, that is a subscription. But then the Amazon thing, it always gets thrown in there. To me, like, we're at a point, at least in America, where almost everybody has Amazon or knows someone who has Amazon. Sure. The NFL's been on Amazon for years. Like, acting as though, I got to go buy Amazon now. You probably already have an ability to access Amazon at this current juncture. So holding that against the NBA, I think, is a little bit disingenuous, because when you actually take a step back, look at how many now opportunities there are for people who maybe they have cable, they have more than just over-the-air TV, but they don't have the financial ability to go get League Pass every single year.
Yeah.
And now they're going to get every single day more teams, more great games, more opportunities to watch stars. And yeah, adding Peacock does suck, and it is going to be kind of confusing at first. But I do think that overall, getting to the point where you have national TV games every single day is good for the league.
I think ultimately it will work out fine. But we're asking people to change habits, and that's tough. If you ask 100 people to change their habits, like, some number of those people will get it right away. Some people will take some time, and some people never will get it. So you do run the risk of people just dropping off and not watching it. Like, I'm not going to, like, it used to be simple. You know, I had my YouTube TV, and I would either watch, everything was there. It was either on my regional sports network, or it went on to TNT, or it went on to ESPN, or it was on ABC. It was all in one place, nice and easy. And then I could buy my league pass, and everything was in one place. Beautiful. Mwah. Now I got to go to Amazon Prime. Now I got to go to Peacock. And when you look at it in reality, it's like, okay, so you open up a different app, but not everybody has those apps. You're right. A lot of people have Amazon Prime, but not everybody has, people order from Amazon. Not everybody has Prime. Not everybody can afford all of these apps. The prices are going up. The prices are going up for the YouTube TV and for Hulu with Live and Sling and all that stuff. The more layers you add, the more you run the risk of shutting certain people out. And everything is more expensive in the United States now. Everything is expensive. Groceries, your gas, your everything. So adding a cost to this is just, it makes it the first thing that people can start to cut off. Like, you know what? I'm not going to add Peacock. So sorry. And that's how it's going to go. So I think there is an argument to be made on both sides. This is where things are going anyway, but an over-the-air regional sports kind of thing like the Phoenix Suns and the Phoenix Mercury are doing kind of helps alleviate that. If the NBA is going to say, look, we're asking you nationally to do all these other things, but here, look at this trend. Look at all of your local stuff. It's going to be on local TV. You just turn it on. You can watch those things. I think that will be like the what balances things out for fans.
Yeah, I think that once you get to that point where everybody's doing the Suns model, this will all be so much more palatable. I think you're 100% right on that. And I also think that the NBA should force their hands in doing this and they're being the teams themselves and the regional partners. It's like, for example, the FanDuel Sports region now taking over for Bally Sports and then formerly Fox Sports, like that entity, whether you're in the FanDuel TV Oklahoma or FanDuel TV whatever market, that entity is not on Hulu or it's not on YouTube TV. It's not on Dish Network. It's not on all these providers. So the only way to get it is by signing up for their independent streaming service, which then you can't get on your actual TV provider. You have to go find this app that doesn't work half the time and go actually watch it on this app on your television. And that means you need to have, of course, a Roku or Apple TV or Fire Stick or whatever you need to be able to watch it on your actual television. And that's just to watch your local team play. You've got to jump through these hoops. And again, the most important part being, it's not even a reliable product on their app that you can actually watch it, even though you're paying $20 a month to watch your team play basketball, throughout the NBA season. So I think that the NBA has to step in and say, listen, either we're going to terminate this contract or you're going to settle up and get these things onto YouTube TV and Hulu and whatever. And if we lose money in the process in the short term, that's fine. Because on the long term, you're going to be gaining viewers. There's just absolutely no other way to slice it, because you're seeing these teams now kind of be half pregnant about this. Like the Thunder, for example, they put about 5-6 games a year on over-the-air television on top of on their regional sports network streaming app. And those games do great because it's even though it's sporadic and even though it's random and even though it's only 5 games in the sense of an 82-game season, when people do flip by it on the TV dial, they're going to stop there. They're going to finally watch their team. They're going to enjoy having it in the convenient way and then in the consumable way. And if you just have to, call a spade and quit these regional TV networks right now early and whatever financial implications that there are, so be it. And I think that there's another avenue too of, what if you just eliminate blackouts on League Pass and you just say, you know what? This is not the Stone Ages. We're not going to sell more tickets if we black out games. Just watch them. And as long as you watch them, we're going to be happy. And then kind of go from there.
Preach, Rylan Styles. Preach.
I don't get blackouts. And maybe it's because I'm too young to get blackouts. I understand what it does. But it's like, wouldn't you sell more tickets if the whole point of we want you to go to the game. We don't want you to watch it on TV. We want you to go to the game.
It's an antiquated concept. I remember when they first started blacking games out because fans weren't going to games. And they're like, yeah, well, you can watch it on TV. TV became this big thing. Oh, wow, all these games are on TV now. People don't remember. I'm old, so I do remember, not all the games were on TV. I remember missing, sitting there watching the Boston Red Sox, oh, the game's not on TV today. And that's when the regional sports networks came along and no, we're going to watch this. We're going to give you every game. Oh, wow, that's amazing. But the blackouts were to encourage people. Once TV started becoming dominant, all of the teams were like, well, what if you can watch it on TV? Why would you come to a park and have that? So it's antiquated now. People want to go to these games. The games are always sold out. End the blackouts. The blackouts are done. Thank you for saying it. One of the things I was like, do we have enough time for me to say it? And you said it. So I'm happy about that.
We have enough time. There's always enough time to preach against blackouts. That just makes zero sense from all of these sports leagues, including the NBA. This has been Locked On NBA, and we'll have Locked On NBA game night for you every single night, especially Monday through Sunday, and we have it for you after every single game, and even after Patrick Beverley and Trae Young get into spats on social media. So we'll always have you covered here on Locked On NBA game night, and until next time, be good and be good to one another.